generation to all my fellow speakers and room leaders. You see, if I figured out yesterday that if I were to write 1,000 words a day for 70 years, I'd be writing somewhere around 24 million words in the end. And that 24 million words, no, sorry, those 24 years, the 24 million words, my friends, would not be able to contain the topic that I'm going to talk in these 7 minutes. The topic is so vast and so broad that it's more like comparing Game of Thrones versus House of Cards. How many of you know these shows? Please raise your hand. See, quite a number, I see. You see, before I begin everything talking, so it would be best to introduce what is medieval age and what contemporary age is. Medieval age is a period from 5th to 15th century, from the fall of Roman Empire to the advent of Renaissance, which was always, the period was engulfed in poverty, relative poverty, backwardness, ignorance, conflict, hence the name the Dark Ages. Whereas the contemporary age, the age we live in, the Gilded Age, the apex of science, technology, advancement, everything, including politics, this is our contemporary age. Needless to say, there are many distinctions politically. So first and foremost, the center of political activity is a lot more different in our age and in their age. You see, politics, as we all know, is centered around government. Government is the center of all political activities, but back then in the medieval age, the royal court, or an assembly of noblemen, lords, ladies, knights, religious men, military men, generals and marshals, was appointed in order to advise the king or ruler in the matters of statecraft and government. You see, they were always, or most of the time, appointed on the basis of their birth, so they're not necessarily able, they're just born with silver spoons in their mouth, as we might say now. It's all a matter that they're fortunate to be born rich and powerful. So there's always kind of dynamics between the ruler and his court. You see, whenever there was a stronger court, court is comprised of individuals. This means stronger individuals, and stronger individuals mean stronger ambitions. Stronger ambitions mean lots of plotting, scheming, murders, and hence political instability. But whereas in a case of a powerful monarch, one could always find a weak court and ultimately political stability. You see, but sometimes in history is witness to the fact that both of them proved to be inept in their task. And in that case, nations have vanished from the world overnight, you see. But in our age, to counter that problem, we have 3 organs of government: legislature, executive, and judiciary. All of them have power-sharing structures. They are all independent, yet interdependent. So there's always a kind of principle of check and balance there. None can be powerful than the other. So that's about the center of power. Now, one must always take into consideration the forces that drive politics. Well, in our age, trade, business, diplomacy, security, public opinion, all of these factors are vital in driving politics. But back in medieval age, one factor above all dictated politics, and that factor was war. You see, in Middle Ages, wars were fought for every reason under the sun, and for sometimes no reason at all. So much so that soldiers did not know why they were fighting for or what they were fighting for. They just went to the battles because they were paid to do so, and they had no other thing to do. Well, wars lasted for generations. Generations of family passed away without knowing a single month of peace, even for 100 years and beyond. That is our reality. Well, please take into consideration that area under focus, my speech, is Western Europe. So pretty much everything is centered around Western Europe now. You see, as an interesting fact though, the average age of a nobleman, you know, the lords and knights and all, was less than that of a peasant, because it was not always about pleasure and enjoyment. Of course, the trend of the era was most of the time kings spent their lives in brothels or in battles. So this was the reality. I think you're privy to the fact. So those of you who might be thinking, oh, we live in a very bloody world. The world is so full of bloodshed and all. I hate this world. Let me remind you, we live in the most peaceful period in human history. That is the truth. Now, also, we have in today's world more proportional and more electorally sound body of representatives. This is because we have a certain system of belief, a certain set of belief that public opinion is valued more than anything else. That's why we are a democracy. But as my speaker, the speaker following me will be explaining to you, hopefully, that democracy is not always the right form of government. In medieval age, the thing was that politics was more about defending one nation against neighboring nation. So it meant politics had to be more locally oriented. Thus, the thickness of the castle walls under which I lived in symbolized my sense of security, symbolized my sense of citizenship, unlike the kind of, political, diplomatic relations we have now. So in a sense, life was easy, life was hard, life was the way it is. Public were disenchanted with politics, but they did not care about which lord ruled them or something like that. There was always this kind of hatred towards politics. That's the reason, I suppose. So now I suppose the ladies at the back and here might be wondering, was politics all about men? No. Politics, no. Politics, you see, women were major players in politics. So much so that kings hoped for few sons and more daughters. Why? Because because more sons meant more dissension, more ambitious young men, more wars, and eventually weaker kingdoms. But more daughters meant more marriages, more alliances, more friendliness, more kind of harmony, and thus stronger kingdom. And women were also very important. Margaret Thatcher's, Angela Merkel's today were some kind of, you can say, incarnations of Isabella of France, of Eleanor of Aquitaine. These women defined the age of nations they lived in. So, at last, in the end of my long, boring speech, I'd like to summarize the whole thing I said in a single sentence. That is, in today's world of democracy, politics is all about game of numbers. But back then, it was about Game of Thrones. One won or one died. There was no middle ground. Thank you.